Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this first Islands-Whangaroa board meeting for 2026 on February the 12th. And apologies from Councillor Arohanui Allen today, and we also have apologies from Lawrence Oliver, our team member, and we have online member Roddy so have to be present today due to family illness. So Morena Roddy, and I'd just like to introduce introduce my board, Imre, who has been off on maternity leave, Imre Dunn, one of our very experienced DGs or governance skills, and we will be losing Amber to a promotion of the council. Welcome Amber. Just before we kick off, I'll go around the room and so everyone can introduce themselves to you, starting with you.
Kia ora, I'm Wade Hawker, I'm the Kerikeri Subdivision.
Kia ora, I'm Jo Alexander, I'm the other Kerikeri Subdivision member.
My name is Jane Pintle. I am the member for Russell, Oakwood, also Council Member.
Good morning, everyone, and court. I am the General Board Councillor appointed to this board.
Kia ora, good morning, Tyler Bamber, Waikato representative of the board and deputy chair.
Belinda Ward, here, Waitangi Subdivision member and your chair for today.
Kia ora, Amber Webb, on the audit and democracy advisor and minister.
Kia ora, like Belinda said, my name is Imre Dunn. I am also a democracy advisor and I'll be taking over this community.
Kia ora, I'm a staff member. I work in the policy and dialogues team. My name is Tom Shepherd.
Morena koutou, Stephen Tupuwa, with Parliament District Council. I'm working as the community board coordinator.
We do have a new staff member here with us today. You might like to introduce yourself to
Jo, just started the FNDC at Waikato. I'm doing this to Diamond, so working under the new right now.
Thanks, Jane, as well. What was your surname?
Knight.
Said me hiding you. Thought you were going to get away with it. I think everybody knows you. Lovely to have you with me today. And just Roddy, Roddy.
Morning everyone, my name is Roddy Harpty PM. I'm the current Moirawan Kākua representative for the board.
Thanks. Just before we move on, I would just like to congratulate Tyler Bamber, our Deputy Chair here. He's just landed himself a new position as Operations Manager with the Turner Centre here, which is very exciting. for him and for us and for the community at large bringing the skills here. So with that in mind, Turner,
That means free tickets from free.
So Tyler will not be, just for the public's information and for those of you, Tyler will not be a conflict when it comes to funding applications for the Turner Centre. So he will not be voting. Unless there's anything that we specifically need to start with this week. So were there any further conflicts on today's items? Idea. Thank you. Apologies to one for a second. Jane, thank you. So we'll move straight on to, do we have any speakers here for our public forum this morning? Got a couple of deputations. We're here to speak in our public forum, so we'll move straight into deputations. So welcome, Anita, Joe Lumpong, here to speak to us in relation to the kitty kitty domain and our kitty kitties stage or whatever you're going to speak to about it. 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how long we've spent time. Probably just so you don't have to back stepping over here, we are live streaming, so actually no, you don't. Just stand on that visible dot on the floor, okay?
Maybe
Good. Kia ora and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Anika from our Kitty Charitable Trust, which is current chairperson. So we're here to speak in regards to the domain, in particular a project or a potential project that we'd like to do it. Obviously, Kitty Kitty is growing, our community is growing, visitor numbers are growing, and the expectation of what our town should offer is growing too. At the centre of it all sits the domain. It's a very highly regarded, very protected, very precious space. It's where we commemorate, celebrate and gather and show people who we are. But every time we want to activate that space, we start from scratch. So I'm part of the Christmas event that we have at the end of the year. So we have to erect temporary stage, there's temporary infrastructure. That's a large cost and it's a very big effort. And when something is hard, things happen less often. And so that domain has untapped potential to be used a lot more than it currently is used. What we're proposing is a very simple idea with a long-term impact. It's a permanent, attractive, open-air stage that makes it easy for people to use that space. It's not grand, it's not overbuilt, it's just smart and can support arts, culture, recreation and community connection. It can support the Christmas event that we have. So every year we pay very large cost to have a stage, which we have thousands of people attend. We also have the half marathon, and it also can unlock the activity throughout the whole year, whether that be lunchtime concerts, whether it's school performances, papa haka, youth talent, even just exercise, whether that's tai chi, it could create an amazing infrastructure for use. These types of things make the town feel alive, it brings people into the town to live longer, and it creates that vibrancy. So we have the talent, the arts, the culture, the entertainment, the talent. We just need to be able to remove the barriers to being able to use that on a community basis. Obviously, we have the Turner Centre, which is an amazing asset, but this is more about the grassroots opportunities that we have. So I'm now going to pass it to Joe, who's going to speak a little bit more about the idea and the essence of that space.
Yeah, thanks, Nika. So the thinking around this has been going on for a very long time. I'm actually reading a document that was written back in 2018, I believe, and it's very much relevant to this project as it stands right now, and domain in general. So this is from a plan submission pushing Kitty Kitty back in the day. It says, have a heart. We believe that the benefit which unfolds through the development of Kerry domain has potential to come as much from the process as and people as from the asset itself. We would love to see vision, motivation, planning for our community, which extends beyond political term but individual lifespan. This is a necessary step to achieving progressive, sustainable systems for urban living and community wellbeing. There is an intangible quality held by a space, places and objects reflected embodies the energy by which they have been considered, manipulated and were created. Together, let us put a little love into our face and practice. So, coming from that point, the location that we've been looking for, which is included in the built environment zoning within the management plan for Kerikeri Domain, is one of the direct connection points between the town and the domain itself. Right now, the majority of the town turns its back to the domain, and so creating connection and flow between the two, I think, is key. Currently, so there is a lack of continuity between township, Kerikeri and domain green open space, which sits adjacent. Let's create visual and psychological links between the two, giving greater flow between spaces, ease of access and expansion of use. An attractive, engaging recreation and leisure area at the heart of CBD will provide a reason for citizens and tourists alike to linger longer, to utilise both retail and recreation opportunities. This vision has huge potential in terms of financial benefit and community wellbeing. Security is another thing that comes into play with this as well. The longer people linger in spaces, the more secure they become. So not only will this space create an environment which is conducive to activity and connection with people, but it can connect spaces as well. It can create protection and safety and security. It's a long-held, understood notion in design that humans in general seek shelter, prospect and refuge. And so they want to be able to see around their flanks, to know what's coming. They want to have shelter to make sure that they feel safe. And so if you can provide those two elements, people will come. Right now, shelter on the domain is limited. We live on an island. Weather is changeable. So rather than have people leave the area, a 10-minute shower and then come and have to come back again, something like this also just have an opportunity to create temporary shower and rain protection. We have families using the areas frequently with playground and cycling trail right there. So instead of everyone going home, if we have somewhere that they can maintain a play and connection process from the playground to the covered shelter, we can actually hold people in town for longer. I would like to see this, and I think it's agreed, as a youth-led program. So in terms of the process and the benefit to be gained from that, I see there's a little dearth in our education system currently, and that a lot of the learning that goes on is not implemented into the real world. I've got background in youth leadership and youth at risk programming and experiential education. And one thing that was evident throughout my time doing this work was that when people are involved in a tangible project, when they can see the outcome of their endeavours in the physical space, it helps with retention of information. It also makes all of those connections between education and implementation of knowledge. So we've been speaking with high school. I think there's a lot of other knowledge, intellect and capabilities within the township. I would love to see a mentorship program developed around this as well and pull students in to help with the conceptualisation. People from theatre, drama, from music and from the visual design space as well. So I'd love to see a collaborative version. So part of what would be educating these individuals about these communities, these different groups that we pull into this space, design thinking. Now, design thinking is a combination of empathy, creativity, and pragmatism. You analyse and fit solutions into the context. We are close to the limit of what we can learn in siloed specialities in terms of education and practical information. The current climate, what is new and what can be innovated upon is the connection between. This requires working collaboratively for a common goal, pooling knowledge and resources. Why not introduce youth into this process? The opportunity for growth, connection and learning is vast. So this means that we'll be looking at a holistic approach as well. So through the design thinking process, our desire to work together as an integrated and inclusive manner, the goal to pull talent, resources and knowledge to draw out innovative solutions and creation and action in a community vision now and into the future. We aim to do this in a way which maximises benefit relevant to resources and energy expended. How can spaces, places, objects, amenities and creativity be used in a variety of ways to value stack outcomes and functions? So through research into historical and current opinion, the following wishes have been highlighted by community as key elements of domain development. There is much interplay between these elements, potential for extensive integration across the value and use. That is play for all, shelter, exercise, wellness, and the visual arts. And from there, I'll hand it back over to Anika to pull in some of the around that.
So the discussions we've had and the way in which we'd like this open air stage to be designed is very multi-use. We don't want it just being a stage. We want it to be able to be used for, perhaps seating, be part of it, to watch sports event that might be happening. So designing it for multiple uses. And so that's really, really important to us. It needs to be a community asset. People need to be able to use it. We obviously know it needs to be, designed well for vandalism. We need it to be open so that it doesn't become overnight shelter. Or, there's definitely a lot of design elements that need to be considered. And we want it to not be a narrow use. It needs to be multi-use. Obviously, financially, this will cost. I mean, there has been discussions around having an actual building on the domain. I think there might have been a business case done on it some time back. But we see an open stage as being a cost-effective use of the domain without necessarily having built the building. I don't know where you're at if it's being pursued in terms of building itself, but we see it in the stage of play. We don't see it using the middle green space. Obviously, that's extremely important to the community as a protection of that green space. This is more in the area that is within the domain management plan to be able to be used for community-led projects. So we just want to make sure it's really important that people understand we're not after the green space that we know this is on. So yeah, funding will be needed, obviously. That could be community-led funding through applications. This is an open thing. It needs to be built well as well. But we do see it as a community asset, obviously funded by the community board. That thing has the domain from what I've read and what I understand that community board. So yeah, it's I do, at the risk of not telling you what we think we're going to do, but I just want to make sure you understand what an open air stage could be or what it actually is. So I just thought I'd give you some examples. This is not to say what it would look like if this was going to be community-led, but that's essentially kind of what an open stage is. So obviously security, making sure it's not closed off. We want to make sure it's really easy to use, but it's also got security for any assets that stage may have. So that's just kind of like an example. Ngātere here are also aware of it. Obviously, it's on the board of our committee, so we have had discussions around it as well. So Ngātere would be a stakeholder as well. So yeah, that's our speech.
Oh, thank you both for that. Very important. So, in relation to FUNDO, this was originally submission made to the long-term plan, and that was actually included and pushed out.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit left over from the PGF fund. I think that counts quite a tag.
This was specifically for a stage, so it's actually sits in there. So we would have to have a look at that and see where that is at, and to get to the point of design and costings, then we can see actually because I understand that there's still some of the next week. Sorry. Interest of time? Joe.
Yes, I'm sorry. I might just give myself some background in context here. I'm just a little bit unclear. Is this a proposal for us to take work to fund as the council is that I'm happy doing? He just wants to make sure that we are particularly clear about
We need permission to do it. So
you guys are doing that.
Yes,
And
we're
just doing that. And you just want us to say, yep, that's a great idea.
yeah, well, it's on the domain.
Yeah. And then you additionally asking what I have said to Belinda is our first step is so this is even an option. We don't want to spend a heck of a lot of time in design and going to funding if we wouldn't have it on the domain. So yes, it's very, very early stages. I mean, we have spoken about it a year or two back, but the domain was in hand, but moving it like there was a little bit of tidying up that needed to be done. So in some areas,
Quite a few steps in this.
Yes. Yeah.
And nothing's a fait accompli. We're in the early stages. It's just that it was through to the hospital and it wasn't through the previous funding. Right. So we're now looking at a clean slate. It's a good design. We're looking at the management plan. We've got item 7.4 on the table, so we've got Robin in the room, so we can discuss that when we're back to it. So this is really just sowing seeds as to what the intent is and how we will move forward with community engagement, how we will assist, I guess, in the effective engagement process and the consultation, bearing in mind that there is already an advisory group that will be set up.
That's super helpful. Can I just ask one follow-up question? So I'm just intrigued in terms of you guys doing your research for this. Is there another example doing with a town that has done something like this? Like open air stage? Yeah, there's multiple. And I was just down in Christchurch and yeah. So yeah, there's multiple open air stages. And you've got yeah. And so this is really about doing this kind of thing.
Internationally.
And so we can learn from their experiences as well and how they've approached it, how they managed it, and the issues that we might potentially face.
You know, every region is different, so I think we'll be looking at its regularly carry location. The key things here, and one thing visually, I think major key thing that needs to be considered. There are lots of these stages here for mapping, but because the location that's available in the zoning domain is basically a gateway between the township and the domain, I think we need it open on sites. Yeah. So the whole idea would be not to create a visual barrier. If there's going to be a visual barrier put up, it would be temporary and a space where the theatre is using that need to create something.
Yeah.
My oldest childhood memories would be the South Shore Marine Parade.
Oh, yes.
It's still an amazing space to this day, so
Exactly. Yeah. And we want to do it well. So, I mean, we are definitely going to need funding. I mean, just to reach the stage that we have for one evening a year is around that fundraise.
Whoa. And what you find though within the Kirikiri area, there's a lot of capability, there's a lot of resources, and when you've got a permanent structure going up, something's going to be an asset for the community. There's a lot of willingness to donate time and resources.
Yeah. But we also do understand that there will be potentially first reaction will be, no, I don't want that, because the domain is such a highly protected space, and the fear will be the green space is up for grabs, and so the communication to the community will need to be very clear. And I know, I think cricket's still on the domain, it's going to be, but yeah, so obviously that's a very highly protected space for cricket, so we want to make sure that, it's reassured that it can be multi-facility use for them, plus seating for the cricket. So we know it's a protected space, so it's all going to be about communication and consultation. It's by default, people will go, no, we don't want anything in the domain.
Well, it's basically dictated by the management plan. So I think the spaces available in Mount which is kind of car park and
Yeah,
Just
sort of
beside
around there. It's not the most ideal spot because the afternoon sun is hitting the audience. But it is what it is.
Potentially, so we just right at the end, you could always set up the audience the car park side to version and back the other way. So preferably you would be having the audience looking south, away from the sun, but it's not possible. That's my distance today. It's just something.
But that's where the power supply is as well. So
What's the long time?
yes. Okay.
Thank you. I don't want to get into discussion about the actual site.
Yeah.
The community board hasn't fully applied for the delegation. At this stage, it's left tight definitely to formalise an advisory group. So watch the space on that one. I have listed on behalf of the board to look into any financial implications that they can be out of. Currently, it's a district-wide asset. If it were to become perhaps real rate of those sorts of things, what the ongoing costs will be, whether will have that effect in operations. So there is quite a bit of work for us to do too, as to model moving. As I say, it's an agenda item today. Roddy, online there, did you have any quick questions or queries for Joe or Anita today? Thank you. Thanks for your time. And next up, we've got Ralph. Ralph's here to speak to us in relation to Te Pāti Kuria, the Waipu spatial plan, and really talking to wanting it to be bottom up rather than top down. Is that correct?
And we have a few proposals for changes to the drafted in terms of reference.
Thanks, Ralph. And if you could speak up, we do have chillers going on behind us, so it's not always easy to hear. Thank you.
So good morning and thanks for this opportunity to talk about the spatial plan implementation script. My name is Ralph and I'm the chair of Vision Kerikeri. Vision Kerikeri has been one of the community stakeholders of the proposed spatial plan process. Vision Kerikeri welcomes the general thrust of the proposed steering group in item 7.5. We particularly welcome the following points in the draft terms of agreement. We strongly support the proposal for a community board representative to chair the steering group and a community board representative to be member. The proposed membership to the steering group encompasses diverse groups, which will help to break down the previous silo approach with separated groups. For example, all members will not be able to learn directly from public group members about public perspectives and priorities. Previously in the process, there were several different groups with the meeting separately. We strongly support the proposed the core principles is include trust, openness, mutual respect for all members, constructive and solutions-focused approach, listening actively to one another, striving for solutions that benefit the community. So that's good. However, during the spatial plan hearing, community groups stressed the need for a bottom-up participatory consultation process, like the process that was used in spatial planning before the consultants at Becker became involved. After Becker started, the spatial plan became a top-down process with very little opportunity for community input. During the implementation stages that are now starting, the input from community groups, partners, and others will be very important. However, the draft terms of reference for the steering group suggest a rather passive role. At least that's what I posted. We ask the community board to support a more active participatory role for the steering group, so members can contribute constructive ideas and information. regarding the purpose statements adopted by council. The terms of reference does not yet include 2 points on the purpose of the implementation steering group, stated in the geographic area spacious land as adopted by council last year. The adopted purpose is quoted in Pattern 7.5, page 36, third paragraph. The purpose of the implementation steering group is defined in the implementation plan as to secure communities' needs, values, priorities are represented throughout the process. It fosters shared ownership and transparency, delivery, and a diverse membership is a key. However, the draft terms of reference does not yet include those 2 points from the adopted purpose. We will also prepare clearer points about meeting frequency and approach to enable more active participation. We respectfully ask the Community Court to make amendments to 3 areas of the draft terms of reference. Below, we have quoted relevant paragraphs from the draft. Mark this proposed amendment. Now I will be distributing the paper, and we have, in order to make it easy, quoted the paragraphs and strike all those things to be struck off and underline those items to be added. It's not much, it's just 4 paragraphs, but we think it is quite important to make the steering group a more active group, with more enabling more initiative of the community. I think I won't read those paragraphs to you, but it's kind of difficult. But we will be able to include it. I have since talked to Jay before the meeting, and Jay right as well. She said that the proposals, well, they thought it would be better to present their draft to you first for acceptance, and then come back to us to consult about it. This is exactly the point that we are making. Once it is approved by council, then the community has rather little possibility to change anything, to improve it. So we think that bottom-up is better than
So the 3 changes, what's later in the bottom line?
well, just to one of them is the purpose of the steering group.
Oh, sorry, it's really hard to hear you with that. Can you come a little closer?
Sure.
Thank you.
Do you have printouts of the changes there?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You can take one back around, Rob. Okay.
Interested?
So you hear this out, Rob? It's actually just a recommendation to us.
Yes.
It's in relation to the appointments.
Back chair, we're being asked to say.
You see them on B.
Question,
Yeah.
My question relates to Anisha, which to me is just what do you see with future?
Like in the past, I would see several community groups getting involved, like our Keri, Mission Keri, Capri conservation groups, Carbon Neutral Trust. Sorry, Business Association, yes, definitely. Yeah, Carbon Neutral Trust, New Zealand Trust. Actually, our first draft had included a list of those organizations or representatives that we would suggest. And then I thought, well, since the original draft says just communities, and it's a long-term process of this implementation steering group, a group today may not be available anymore in a year's time. So I don't know whether it would be good to list them, but I think that you and surely also the planners have a good idea of which groups are active in the communication processes.
My observation is to be identified. Expectations could be missed.
Okay.
That is my question.
So if that helps, send an email with a document and also a list of those groups that we are thinking would be.
Scanning the changes that you make, but high level, you talked about making this more active and passive. Can you just give me a little bit more colour to what active?
Well, the way I read the proposal now is that the planners are calling for a meeting. They make an agenda and have prepared those things. While a more active approach would be to consult on agendas and activities and the possibility for members of the steering group to approach the chair to propose certain actions and a meeting. So just to engage the steering group members more.
I can't think what I trying to do. Just know that's coming up. The spatial thing has been. This is another thing.
No, implementation. Yes.
My question is the acquisition understood.
Of course it is. We are talking about implementation, the implementation steering group. And we've been waiting for it to start already for half a year. So yeah, definitely that's well understood.
And then this addition to that, I think it's also need to be 12 months.
Initially, it says, and then it would be decided to continue.
So I was checking for that.
Yes, that's in the case. Although we are all sure that after 1 year, we're by far not finished.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation and out everyone. It's important because we do have a busy agenda item. So you're welcome. If you have an agenda, you're welcome to stay.
That would be probably sometime in the afternoon.
No, we'll be quite quick this morning. We have on at one funding application, so it usually chews up our time. So please take a seat.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
So next up we have Jerry to speak to the one and only page 17. This is to allow the Turner Centre to retain the previously allocated funds, and they're asking for an extension of the date of the event. So page 17.
Morena kia koutou, community board members, council staff, community. Firstly, I'd like to tōtoko kaupapa from Joe and Anika around the outdoor stage. I think infrastructure like that plays such an important place in placemaking in the community. I know that often people don't want to come into a theatre in this hot summer months, and my own experience being involved with like the Magic Garden series in Whaniki Wellington, at the Sound Shell in the Botanical Gardens, or having played at the Festival of Lights in Taranaki in New Plymouth. They just add such vibrancy to a town, and they got quite excited by that idea. So not to chat more around that. But yeah, in terms of the potential, is I get so many groups saying, can we come and play at the Turner Centre in January? And normally say, no, it doesn't work during the summer. So having an outdoor space like this and get the wider community from the district in as well, will be awesome. In terms of speaking to the funding application, last November, December, we were awarded some funding towards an accessible show for Troy Kingi during Waitangi Week. It was also dependent on some funding from the Ministry of Culture and Heritage, who unfortunately declined our application, I think because we were quite close to Waitangi and they probably supported all the events over there. But unfortunately, they didn't let us know. The decision was delayed, and we only found out like on the 19th of December or so. So it wasn't enough time to be able to plan or replan the concert for Troy. So I'm requesting that we can delay that, postpone that accessible concert to till May this year, and based on if that is accepted by the community board, then we'll go back to Troy's management agent and see if we can restage it accessible. It's quite simple, really, and we hope to consider it. See all this before decision.
Jerry, this is for $7,500. You'll see the information on page 18. The date is not set yet, though, so you've got to wait.
No, because rather than getting too, we've been told by his agent that May is a possibility until we get confirmation whether we can use the funding without discussions too much.
Yeah, I'm just Jerry, is it still dependent on getting funding from some of the body?
No. It won't be quite the low, like, so one of Troy's normal gigs could be between $45 and $60. We would be looking at so this funding will allow us to make it accessible 25-ish.
Because I think
if we've got the Ministry of Culture and Heritage, so this would be still, we've done around it, yeah. And I think based on the economics and the economy at the moment, it would appeal to a lot more people than might be able to something like this.
Any questions, comments from you? Do you have any questions for Jerry over the Troy Kingi change of date? Discussing the funding application.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Right, moving on to item 6.1, confirmation of previous minutes. That the vote on is followed up the minutes of the meeting held 17th December 2025. True record. Explanation on page 12, the amount should have been $3,673. So we should amend that. And the only other thing couple of words around the appointments that we did for management committees. We did have in the original option a query tie selection team. Story list, the story of the query to the partnership, obviously not on the list.
Just don't believe he's on the list. Still clarify that.
And Jane, and it's time. It's all that is. It's actually not enough.
symmetry. So just can we just look into the and the equipment required?
So,
Yes. I'm not clear on that, so people just think you all have that in IN. Just curious, it might be a bad memory, which happens more increasingly these days. Related to the dockside, I think certain about continuing to look at options. And the minute suggests that the charge is related to the dockside. Yeah. That we definitely endorse the progressing the recommended side. But I thought we also had a discussion about continuing to options. But maybe I'm wrong. So we did endorse this and the council continue to investigate options.
That was brought up during discussion.
Because at the moment, it makes it look
There's
there's clarity that they're in one direction. And we're still, still some question marks to the solution. Right. I think it was the decision to still start I just don't want them to be such a keen interest in the outcome of that. And it could be perceived to say this absolute clarity that this direction we're going in. We're going in a direction, but it's not necessarily in that direction. I found particularly one of the very grand conversation today. Perfect. Yes.
Can I raise a question? Later on, when we get to read item 7, paper is seeking to establish position of future authority. And this predetermines the outcome of the process. So procedurally, I have concerns. The second thing that I have concerned about in the vote definition is the current resource consent does not allow an activity to establish and so without there being pointing what that might be, documents report as immature. I have other concerns. I'm going to send it to the articulate that at the workshops. I think it is very important that I have students and there are to see before we get in the coaching. I'm sure as the question, reach out, jump stations, move. I just like that captured in the notes. I think they took me to lots of
I agree. It's a very confusing resolution because on the first day, but then item B, we go proceeding further investigations into the biology and appropriate. So what we were doing there was supporting, I think we're accepting the endorsement staff report is suitable side. But then item B, we're asking to estimate. a very active resolution.
That's into the options if you read through the article about the options.
And I guess so it gets comments around us going to approaching this that easy that option of backtracking that.
So I also am concerned that I don't hold that downside for a whole bunch of people care members to feel like that will sort of block options for them. So maybe the continuation of options should still be a priority in more society. And I'm hoping that that's in the minutes so that it actually reflects what we're thinking about it. The question was just to do the correct lesson. Okay. Discussion. Sure. Are we just capturing any amendments to these? Councillor Brooks concerns. Okay. And we can discuss further when we come to the the other amendment or query that I actually had was just around so that was a typo.
Two. Sorry, it was a typo. That's 7.6 S.
So that's capturing your amendments. Any amendments from you, Roddy, for those minutes? I move myself, seconded Tyler. All those in support? Yes. Carried. Page 21. Trinity, what's your name right? Another top covered. I see where I missed it. Sorry, apologies. I've already crossed it up for agenda. That's what Jerry does to me. Done, dusted. Okay, so we have item 7.1, the 190 funding application. The recommendation is that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board approve the sum of $7,500 plus GST be retained by the centre Kitty to be used towards cost of the assessor by Troy Kingy to be held no later than the 30th of June 2026. Do I do it? Just seconded by Jane. Discussion around this. Tyler is not covered.
Already approved this application. We've already approved that.
We have. This is a change of date.
That has been taken with the
we are talking to Catherine.
Yes. And I said yes. Through the chair, I put a date of 30th of June, which was past. So our house indicating it's going to be, and it gave a little bit of leeway.
Okay, that's flexibility there. Any discussion on this to the vote? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now 22. Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board named the right of way Kiwi Creek Lane that is located at 1349B State Highway 10 Kiki. Zane? Tyler? Trinity, anything you'd like to speak to in relation to this? We see that now get feedback is being sought and that your response, no objection to the proposed.
meeting. Change. I also want to point out that it was a response to the so you're widely honestly. Just appreciate and hope that that is part of the reasons for it. It's good. Questions for terms. Oh. To the vote. Against. It's carried. Item 7.3. To amend the alcohol control areas for pages. Don's here. The recommendation is that the Islands-Whangaroa Community Board under section 147B of the Local Government Act 2022 recommends that Council by resolution A declare a new permanent alcohol control area at Waitangi that will apply 24 hours a day, 7 days a year round. And B, amend the current permanent alcohol control areas in Kirikiri, Waipapa and Paihia that will continue to apply 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the year round. Yes. Donna, would you like to speak to this? Or
Yeah, sure.
anyone has questions at you?
Basically, there's quite an amount of work that's gone into reviewing the alcohol control areas in the ward. Like really alcohol-free areas or alcohol-ban areas. Some of those reports go back to the last training. So for the new members, Joe, Corey and Ron, they're happy to answer any questions you might have about that area. But to summarise, what these alcohol ban areas made by council, and they're actually made specifically related to particular areas of resolution at council. So what they give is give the police powers to act where there's drinking in public happening or potentially drinking in public happening that's likely to lead to or is occurring in the moment. And we're talking about disorder and crime that can range from vandalism to fighting to all sorts of. The police basically do it made. The powers that the police are given are quite broad. However, in practice, they apply those powers selectively. So somebody having a quiet drink, in and out of control areas is very unlikely to be handled by the police unless they're setting a bad example and it could lead to further mayhem. So the process for reviewing, well, firstly, the areas, the current alcohol ban areas were decided in 2018. And largely they related to the main streets of towns. And I think from memory, there were, was it 9 areas within the board. It's in my report, I've just revised it. But we have these existing areas. Now for most of them, we're saying let's just proceed as usual. We're not going to amend them. But the research that we did indicated initially that based on police data and public health information, that we needed to make two new areas, one in Waitangi, one in Pōpua, and also to revise some of the existing areas. So the revisions were for Kerikeri, Papapa, and Plahia. That is at the sort of broad level. So that's based on police data. But then it comes down even to a more granular level of individual streets, parks, and car parks that the revisions to the resolutions would apply to. So those areas are listed. So this plan was put to the council and was also put to the community board before we went to the council. That was in first week of September for board. So yes, go ahead and consult. And then council endorsed that on the 25th of September. And then the elections took place, and then we undertook public consultation. That involved a variety of ways of seeking support through social media postings, through an email list of roughly 3,000 people who said that they would like to hear about council projects. And it ended up with very, very strong support across the district overall, but specifically for this board, we had 78% of, and there were 93 respondents from this board, so a good solid number. We ended up with 78% giving full support, 10% partial support, so 88% giving support. But overall, the gist of it is strongly approved by the Congress. Then when we get down to the more granular, as we said, look, have we got any other comments about this? And these are recorded in our analysis of submissions that it's attached to this document. And there were a number of comments. So let's make Barry Falls an alcohol control area. Well, it already is. So we answered every single comment. One of the comments that in our initial discussion, in the preview meeting, related to where we had basically 8 people saying, look, we don't have those issues in our core. We think that's essentially council overreach. We went, and we went back to the police data, and we also talked to public health, who has a official who's has a very strong interest in, and this relates to licensing applications and so on. There's a very strong interest in understanding what's going down at the very takes photos of it's generally alcohol with it. People going to an area, discarding bottles, vandalism, people, that sort of thing. And he said, look, you're right, there's actually very little evidence of mayhem going down. So we took that on board and said, okay, we now recommend that everything else stands, but we wouldn't be happy for a new. That's the background. I'm sorry that I've gone on at great length, but that's what we're putting out to the board. We can discuss and we decide. And ultimately, the recommendation goes back to the council. We're now looking at I think it's the 8th of April, council meeting for this. And so, looking for that recommendation.
In the outline, yes. There's a motion for Jane. I'll go to you first. Any comments?
Yes, I would just like to inquire. I was curious that it lumped in the future analysis and statistics from 175 years. And I was surprised they hadn't. That was an issue for it.
Exactly.
It's been, it's been big crime hotspot for both engines. Nobody is alcohol in the streets of the British media and the Belgian. It's not the right sense. But both clubs same club, which is dictating Scottish law. Considering that's the game so I
admit to the mistake.
Yeah, I couldn't understand why it was in it, to be honest.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I think.
Apologies, Joe. You're doing the jokes. Anyway, and just to make sure that I completely understand what this is, it feels like it's like that's so what are the disadvantages actually with respect to the practice of the data? What are the disadvantages?
One of the things is legal, because I think there's been case law about it. There is proportionality, right? So we have to, in other words, we can't have a sweeping ban across the whole board. So we have to think what areas stuff is going down. So not with the council's reputation or even the board's reputation that we keep putting in place rules that we're problems are not in. So that's the first thing. So from the police perspective, they have other powers. So they have the Crimes Act and some of the Proceedings Act. So if something serious happens, they have other powers. They can charge me. The slight disadvantage is where these alcohol ban areas apply, they've got more ability to act proactively to say, boy, move on. We've got to ask, we've got to pour alcohol out. They've got the ability to search cars, etc. But if we don't have the Local Government Act says to make these areas, there has to be a high level of disorders relating to alcohol areas. So it's, yeah, they don't have those extra little powers, but in fact, there's very little evidence that they need them.
Yes. Thank you, Donald. I love your work. They are so clear. capture the community's feedback and address that community thing. I've just got one question, and it's not material to my role. You talk on page 39 about the toilet survey that was conducted in May.
Yeah.
And you talk about 63% respondents identified. I'm just curious what the sample size was.
From memory, it was around 450 people. It's very solid. And by the way, that will not only the this exercise, but the development of the local alcohol policy for the district. So very, robust feedback.
Thank you.
Just one quick question. Say one of these businesses that comes under the ban, can they apply for a special license?
Yes.
After?
Yes. The bylaw itself has the specific rules to cover it. Anyway, the licensing rules allow that. I mean, a good example is if they're a street party that happened right in the middle of an alcohol period, and so it is possible.
Lots of sampling providers. So the restaurants is challenging to make sure. Tables. But the issue is not so much getting drafts made and advanced lines. It's more for do not.
There is a player in submissions report. There's somebody brought out that issue. I said it actually took quite a bit through. But it just looks at that sort of issue where fresco dining has been allowed for short Russell goats, and it's actually in an alcohol-free zone. Yeah, how do you make that? Let's explain well before.
Richard's call. Important business. Okay, I'm going to put it to the vote. Moved by Joe, seconded by Jane. Okay. Moving on, we to item 7 on page 38. This is Kitty Domain, proposal to establish an advisory group. Recommendation.
Yeah, I would like to foreshadow it. I'd like to add the D recommendation. Next council converted territory domain. This is the delegation.
Really issue I have around there. I was looking at things the only issue I have around there is I was still awaiting any cost implications in relation to transferring to reports of delegation to include on the may not be able to speak to it today.
Just in response to that, the management of the here they're likely to see to be this constitutes ongoing discussion with county.
I can see it as from around the range of information. We reference to other communication with the council has to become see about the district. So to find some feedback is available from our representative on the right canvas. Obviously, the main concern and I have kept in response from council. So happy to put your recommendation. The near SD still concerned about the chair for the operation lunches within our meeting report. So what we're talking about is appreciation. We need to follow with it. That's
Made the city clear. Appreciation of goods. That's also just for right. Understand the same issue that 100% of consumers doing this sexuality. What they're doing is making a distinction that this was here. Supposed to be able to do the district. And all treated as genuine rights. Loving with prison and the commission not making my understanding of the time. Operating budgets and counters of money. And I cannot see any transport policy to let me know that.
I'm sorry, I guess the only thing I'd say to the district line is possible way of maintenance. In a higher service budget, I don't know if I can tell you any financials, but I mean it's
So what's your concern as well? So that's that we change basically.
That they don't
District. And this is my frustration in my decision on recommendation for the council. I don't think that delegation should I guess somebody needs to see what I'm trying to do. Started to do. This is a conversation with the president. Cannot do this. It needs to be solved. Just in its Madam Chair, identified and stamp change in my Madam Chair and email sent out. And so really
Yes, so I accept that I see this to start it better, so that's why it's a start, but I did not.
You have to forgive me. I'm going to have to have a word with the Tuesdays without turning the bridges. It's really hard to hear.
Oh, sorry.
When the motion's
Can I interrupt me? I think I can stand up a bit closer. So the item about removal of Kitty Tomato from the list of district-wide assets, I don't feel that that is a staff matter.
I think it's a matter for the community board, so my report hasn't covered that because it's not in my scope.
We do actually have to, as a group, put out an application to council for the delegation. Sure.
Okay, my recommendation from Chair.
Thank you. Read out the full recommendation, including D, the amendment. Islands-Whangaroa Commission A received the name of such establishment and advisory group. B, endorse the establishment of the Kitty Domain Advisory Group to provide ongoing advice and feedback on the management and development of the domain. C, endorse the terms of reference. D, council remove Kitty Domain on the list of council assets and transfer the delegation to the Islands-Whangaroa Commission.
District brand assets.
Actually,
This is the blind.
so we should say that and request that apply to council to remove the Kitty Domain in the list of district assets. And transfer the delegation to the voters. Did you hear that? So move 10. Discussion the aspects you want to speak to, Ron.
Well, I hope it's fairly straightforward and having the speakers here today, I'm sure you're all aware that there is very strong interest in Kitty Domain, that there are people who want to be involved, and we can expect we'll get better outcomes from involvement. I guess the other thing I'd say as well, management of the land sits within the district facilities team. I work very closely with them, so I'm communicating with them, and so while I would be the person that is involved with this advisory group, but it would be known to teams within council, including district facilities and assets.
Next year, Mr. Brown, do we have an additional question? Next week, 5. I'm on to the next document. On the topic of association, I actually put nothing more. We agreed to get the initial points. And we agreed to the to California, and the sponsor of the chocolates in the time. We certainly included in the email that we can join the team that we have onto the bonds report.
My recollection, and without having the emails there, was that there was someone to look forward to me in email contact. And I think the thing is that this it's not expected that this group would be a huge amount of work, a huge amount of meetings, that it is a contact for the groups to step up and be more involved where needed. But I'm fairly sure I was talking to I can't remember the details.
It's just it long time, Jane. And
what read out the names. So X and X went to the meeting presentation on the maybe 18 years ago, maybe more recently, when no information exists. Were you asked to be on a board or the attention? And the answer is no. So I think what I'd like to do, it's okay to remain here. I can't ask staff to do it. If we need to formally write to the since resolution and ask them to nominate something.
So that's the process in since the end of September and the next through that election phase. We was represented the commission. What important discussion.
Yes, and there was, I then emailed out for a contact person for the future, whether that was meant to be permanent contact person or contact person. But certainly the intention is to, once there has been a community resolution, is to go back to these groups. I guess I'm kind of thought that I would be able to give information, but then reflection realised it didn't actually go through the email. So there may have been a bit of a gap, but absolutely if and when the decision is supporters expressed to them, I'm going to go back to in the email.
I'll have a check with you.
Things have moved on, but it's the formal thing.
And we're assuming that people at that meeting were the representatives of various cities.
I recall that the contact person actually changed from that meeting.
Please reaction.
It's a bit broader, and it's kind of related to the shadow around changing and just the asset. Well, I looked at the MOU. It is a little bit vague about what was, and I'm totally in favour of an advisory group. But I've also had experience with advisory groups where people kind of interpret what that means if they're not very specific about what it is. I don't want to set up false hope that people are actually having voting rights on something or so it needs to be kind of crystallised a little bit. And especially if we still as a community board of one step through council, there even another step. So I don't want to set it up that you're on this advisory group and all the people that are making decisions on to go on. But I also don't feel like their participation is a waste of time. So how do you kind of nail that down? And it might be that similar to the other related to the spatial plan, that you actually specify the time which advisory time to be able to nail down. Oh, it is. Okay, I missed it. And you're repeating. I missed it on that one. Excellent. That's good to know. But it feels like it's still a little bit used. Excellent idea, but a bit loose on the sides.
So to give our labour and I did actually give you just an addition under the roles and responsibilities that came out of that meeting. And it's on page 52, number 4, roles and responsibilities 4.2. We consult the advisory with proposed changes, developments, or new events that may affect the domain. I added in the new and existing events as part of the issues around wanting an advisory group. I was disgruntled by some of the existing events, so I think we need to add new and existing events. Any more signs, Robin, around the terms of frequency or the
potential buildings. But I think this would be so, yeah, just think that we should be listening on that until it's violence and very mindful. Things go ahead, then we might be right.
So, for example, in relation to that, like some groups that do want to be involved, perhaps involved is not that concerned about it, and those who are the stakeholders who could potentially be affected by it, yes, they would be involved. I don't think there'd be too many major changes, but that's and that was managing taking things. So it's quite clear.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking that if it goes for free, then that management. So it needs to be impossible.
Yeah, completely. Otherwise,
Okay, so moving along. We're happy with item D. C. This chair's changes that I've just really added existing to in terms of efforts and the acknowledging council comments and that's all to be captured. So yes, just a chance of efforts. Right. Sorry, is that it is, yeah.
Well, no, it's not.
Yes, you might like to represent. We may represent, we may be actually, two might be good because Jane does have a conflict. So, yes, yeah, two kitty. So Ian was just capturing these 3 points in the terms of reference. So adding new and existing to the events group, advisory group, adding community representation. I say and any other.
That's why it's a bit more, no. Which means it could be quite a slow process because they're going to apply, then. But that was very good. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So we've captured those 3 amendments in terms of reference. With that. It puts to the vote. Rod, anybody any comments or questions you'd like to ask?
No. I must have missed half of it because my phone is muffled.
But it's probably us too. We're mumbling a bit, and we've got those chillers behind us. Thank you, Roddy. We're going to put this.
Just have to trust everyone.
Thank you.
I have new seating.
Yeah.
The other ones are pitched. The other one.
Actually not. Some of us have no changed today for the commissioning. Is it not?
I've actually got this recommendation. I'll just take 2 seconds myself. I'll put it to the vote. Sorry. Raise your hands. Against. It is carried. Okay, with that, I'm going to take a 5-minute couple break. So we grab a cup of tea and use the restrooms. Yeah, just spend 5 minutes. Yeah, yes. Have all these staff waiting to deal with the next one. So we'll just take a short pause on the live stream. Move on to item 7.5, which is budget commission getting up in spatial plan, the implementation series. The recommendation here that the Bay of Islands Whangaroa Community Board receive this report, and that if A, we appoint members blank to the Katakura Kirikiri Spatial Plan Implementation Steering Group, and B, inform the Committee for Strategy, Policy and Regulation of the establishment of the Katakura Kirikiri Spatial Plan Implementation Steering Group. Before I move this, we'll just discuss the appointments. On page 57, it is recommended in the last paragraph that we have a member from each of the Kirikiri and Waikato subdivision. This has been preferable based on the extent of knowledge in those areas. So that I'll move Deputy Chair Tyler Banber, who is the Waikato representative, and welcome the discussion on Joe and Dane as to who would like to be represented in Kirikiri in that particular steering group.
Yeah, we've had a chat about this, and Joe was she's one that she so we'd like to.
It's possible. Cool. Right. Easy, great. Wonderful. So with that, we will appoint members Tyler Banber and Joe Alexander to Katakura. So I moved. Do I have a seconder? Tyler? Just further discussion around this recommendation.
Chair, we
the next item is like this one there as well.
I just look like putting on. We should forward this to technical and looking for
Need to add in, I guess, C.
A C.
C, yeah, yes.
I haven't had time to read this.
Awareness, submission within.
Whether that's a C or
We've already proposed amendments
to forward the proposed amendments to Tiku Department.
Yeah, so that was so.
That's the guy.
Yes, and it's not disclosure because again down here.
It's not formally captured. I don't know if it gets into the committee.
It's created yes. I'm not. I'm just curious about the wording and steering group. Because my experience of steering groups is that they are separate. We have Jay here. Oh, cool. Yeah, the team leader who. Sorry, I was looking in the wrong direction. Big Jay, yeah, and who can speak to this. The way I see steering, I see that in my experience is basically advising. I just wanted to do some conversation. So the detail around it makes it sound like an advisory group of steering. That's correct. It's a good steering. And it's advisory groups. It's to speak to the draft
terms of reference there are draft to be refined and agreed one together. So, and with the group also. It's just that it's been able to give it the action to the invitation. I just have a particular interest and I also don't walk up with one understanding of what that means perspective of them actually something about. So doing to make sure that's always possible. Sure, but I think the captions preference from like credit. So the name needs to change.
Change away. If you're a different avenue that you could use, then you said to be captured to be right to draft terms of service for this adjustment.
Yeah.
So instead of putting an alternate recommendation or the option, and satisfactory that this means you will can be
absolutely. To reiterate, we're not seeking endorsement of the terms of reference there. The draft we attached them to this paper because we're inviting all members to join so we to understand the once we then to get to the connection to board members that are appointed and these students to reach out to various group members that have indicated for the first reading to discuss the draft to provide the
somebody and as well as material seeking endorsement of terms of frequency draft and the establishment will discuss the draft terms of frequency on the slides. Just note in the vision hearing committee.
We considered, I mean,
I know you consider everybody, but that's
yeah, so government agencies, we have kept as basically stakeholders. We are regarded as stakeholders for each of the inclusion projects that we undertake. So we mentioned in the report that we're thinking of the White Rock Strategy Plan project and the community area design framework. They'll be only stakeholders. Yeah, we could have gone to them first, or we could have come to the board first. I'm sure.
So let's myself second time. Jane, now we move on to the work that structure plan, item 7.6 on page 65. Yes, Melissa.
Yes.
Would you like to speak to this first before I put the recommendation? That'd be helpful.
Sorry, I have nothing to add.
Nothing to add to this, okay. The Islands-Whangaroa Community Board recommends to take A, exclusion following from the construction plan project scope, declaration of catchment management plan Waipapa, 2, master planning particular Waitanga, and B, the establishment of an elected member working group is not required for this project. Instead, key project milestones discussed in this report Thank you. Discussion.
Seems like that's a lot of you mentioned the previous group, right? That's part of the reason behind this, and also lifestyle. Yeah, that makes sense. The catch, yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, if you go down, please. I would just like to capture the statement again to wait again to see what's time document. Thank you very much. I've been banging the drums for quite some time. Our basically a lot more there, and we have been lobbied, all of us have been lobbied by different social and community groups who want on the land. So they've been master planned what you call attorney people. For the community board, I am with the leadership on the Dunwell schools, travel down to Whangaroa every week. And like in time here, and I'm doing here. We're very, very close to pushing on as part of the new legislation. We are need to apply and water, and with a very tight time frame to do that, and start doing that as we speak. Just wanted to give you some context. Although we're moving it from here, it is going to continue, and it has to form part of the overarching legislative delivery of the new. If that gives you some comfort, because like already I'm seeing, I think it's just growing and growing in terms of communication. It's quite exciting time to be like and chair.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. And you were referring to the advantages on page 68. Bullet point, was it? Make the council to comply with those statutory requirements under the census legislation.
Yes.
And I think the council is actually asked question, because I had a coming question, which was what is catchment management plan? We were I've actually worked it all out. That's Councillor Cook's comment there, so thank you. So I had no other question. It's a cheap round. This is going to be a doozy, and it's like, hey, that's full of surprises. Okay, there's no other discussion questions around this. Report items, I'll put to the vote. Moved Tyler, seconded by Joe. All those in against? It's carried. Thank you. Thank you to the staff. And we move on to Waipapa structure plan, page item 7.6, page.
Yeah. Capital projects.
Item 7.7 on page 76. So we have here Islands-Whangaroa Community Capital Project Priorities for long-term plan 2027 to 37 alignment. I have items 1. I guess I should read now for the benefit of the public. Islands-Whangaroa Community Board endorse and confirm the following capital project priorities for inclusion in the 2025-2026 strategic plan. 2028 strategic plan for progression through Council's 2027 to 37 long-term plan process. 1. Whangaroa Bay, park inspection and installation of tailored park signage. 2. Te Pua Waitunga, sealing of rebel car park installation and investigation of State Highway 10 crossings. 3. Russell public toilets, replacement of the North Street toilets. 4. Waikato car park public toilets, extension of soakage field. 5. Whangaroa Reserve sealing of rural area. Installing population. It's been decided doesn't need to see whether this has actually been sealed or not, but it shall remain a hazard. 6. Maritime storm and sea level rise mitigation, Russell. 7. Kenny traffic and parking, Kenny car park plan. 8. Parks and reserves, Waipapa landing, new recreational resources for car and trailer parking, improved walking access to swimming holes. 9. Open spaces, coyote recreational space, installation of removable bollards, amenity lighting and CCTV. Number 10, amenity lighting, priority areas which we are yet to specify, to be specified, we do have a number. 11, CCTV, priority areas to be specified. So these are on the list. And just to note that this list does not include items that are already in the LTP for our placemaking projects that are in progress, like Russell, Strand and Russell, and we also have Roddy Simpson Park. So there are, I just want to comment that these are new capital projects. These are not things that have been pipeline already in the LTP that have been pushed out. So with that, I'll ask further. Thank you, Dave. Second now, Corey. Did workshop this. I think Roddy might have been the only one that wasn't. Correct. This was agreed to. Say anything you would like to comment or add to. I know Stephen did circulate it. Everybody's had a look at it. Any queries or questions?
I just want to touch on the Waipapa car park. It's got extension of soakage field. I just wanted to sort of include, like, if that's not the issue, you know, some investigation, and if it's not just the soakage field, make them usable, whatever the fix. Not sure the right wording was needed. I just know that the fix is that Waipapa toilets get used, are open barely half the time. I've been told it's the soakage field, but I'm not a toilet.
Likewise, I don't.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that if it's not that, it's whatever fix will be required.
I believe it's to do fire extension of soakage field in behind, like a block.
Yeah.
Where the lights run to. So
for the Madam Chair, just from the victim of the seats, really, if we follow the only real solution.
Tyler there, here. We started with the investigation of that issue by it's not still the switch through this marked this.
I see it absolutely it's required to install. It's come through before. To design the customers so it's done a bit of a inconvenience as that area grows, those toilets. But that's been
huge high volume area.
It does put pressure on the cafe toilets, and should we have businesses that have good toilet facilities there, like 9 to 10, We can't be relying on their advice. Sure, most people know we. Of course, there's a huge visitor population that come through here as well. This we can add to this list. It's not. We just asked if we put the top 10. Is that correct, Stephen? And or reprioritise. Some of these may naturally be reprioritised due to time frames. It could get pushed out anyway. It's just a case of getting them, having a lot of projects and things already in that can be pushed out. It's getting them.
Yeah. Reserve ceiling is one that's used out.
Yeah, it's been pushed out for years.
There are those projects that are in draft form. If you put it out between the hospital, just so it will be additions.
This is the capital works project, so stand to be correct, Stephen, if I got this wrong. We do have our community grant fund and our placemaking fund and our town unification fund, so we've got funds in there. And our yet to be revisited strategic plan basically covers these community neighbourhood amenities in general speak and also in some specified projects. So as far as I understand it, this week we're looking at things that we're going to need assistance in funding for the process, and we can do placemaking projects ourselves, and it's just a case of us as a group prioritising the budgets that we've got. So am I correct in saying that placemaking projects within the community would be able to fund and move ahead on through our strategic planning priorities?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So I do believe so. That we have got
Yes, yeah, and the town beautification project.
So the book that being rich that's on Christmas, council workshop over in Wakefield, and we were advised that all projects are now going to be assessed through a zero based budgeting framework. So there is no guarantee projects that are in ultimately will survive and will be born. I just want to let you know that at play, and we're not going to know for sure until we start to workshop a long-term plan. And I understand staff meet on Friday, January 3 in the workshop, and we're starting to sort of framing that. Second thing I just want to highlight is that this is a funding request, it's not a guarantee. So I just want to set that one because we're really not being here for a very long time, and we know that, but I'm not really sure that if you have questions, you can do it. I understand there's no guarantee in funding. And the third thing I just wanted to raise was I'm not sure we were getting the new piece of legislation that would cap rates. So we just need to be mindful that that's still coming out, and we may be further reductions moving in terms of new things, because we face significant just cost of inflation rises. To give you an example, we had to pay the same increases in insurance and electricity that we do as a homeowner. So when we started the last annual plan, our rates rise was circa 11% in memory. I'm quite remember, circa 11%. What we did in just absorbing increases. So we're going to be familiar out in inflation. We will advocate for them, of course, naturally, but I just wanted to feel
I tend to take the positive poly
even when it comes to the system and look at the budgets that we have a little bit of control of the spending for it. And I would like to think that if we can do it for our communities, if we can dream it, we can do it. This is more of a wish list consensus, hoping to get this through on behalf of the board and our board area. We do have projects in West there that will hopefully eventuate as we move into these tight times of the nice to haves. We need to be able to have some sort of opportunities for seed funding and external, for us to provide seed funding to get external funding in order to move ahead with some of those projects, but we don't get them in the strategic plan long-term. So don't lose faith and hope that you can't do things in your community. We as a board can have our own contested discussions around we talk about communities about my priority and our priority for the submission strategy Russell, and then we are working with some parts. So we've got that we want to, and we can then start goals. So once we complete our project, so get faith that we'll do something. As a community board, we always achieve a lot. Go through at the end of the triennium and tick off our list. It's amazing. You think, oh, we're doing nothing, but we're doing it. It's actually amazing what we do achieve. We are so and we are valued by most of the cats. So, with that, I will. Ron, have you got anything to add to this discussion?
Not really. For Simpson Park, I'm still waiting on the planner and for consultation. They've done the consultation, but nothing's come back yet.
Certainly prioritised in those sites for them. Okay.
I just appreciate just a little bit. Just want to see big pride. So, projects that have been spoken about are quite big, but they're terrible. So, that's what you're saying. Fundraising points are sometimes as well as with applications to foundation days with that, because this is on top of the teaching fixings and some just like what you see, make the school table presentation process to be still in the early stages, so it'll be into what for example, some data we take for information which sort of this is where it gets, I would say it gets sort of hairy because of allocated big spaces for these things, so the community puts for itself. That's what we're looking at on fundraising. So there's a lot of, you'll see the same faces in a lot of these applications, but there's a lot of external scaling to the so fortunately for me, this is just a job additional. Okay. I appreciate the reality of in understanding the delivery paid and contributing to some of the spaces for so say it. What's been identified as one of the record club, for example, so a lot of interest to me as well as because we've syndicated and taste the first thing as well. And so say we get up to council. Is maintained to it. So there's a lot of officials that you sort of and it's really making good steps. Probably different entities. So at the moment it's just yeah. So
it's really asset to the community, and just want to acknowledge the crossover because many volunteers are involved often in
process, particularly with funding applications. And of course, it's also something we're really good at. So we acknowledge that the Opera Zone and small communities like ours, we're made up of a lot of smaller communities within it. We often see the same people because or the same organisation has an umbrella for the smaller groups to get funding, and we see that we acknowledge them at community level because there's a lot of crossover and hence you'll see events and things, we'll see the three main events organisers coming into the centre on behalf of lots of them. So we just need to work smarter together and also look at our community grant, and Catherine can assist there with our community grant policy. We do have a one-off infrastructure grant fund here, which is not often tapped into. No more?
No, that's when you started getting the 100,000 right in place.
Well,
that's gone.
So that's
not
our
council. That's long gone. That was at least 2016.
So the potential opportunity to apply to that is now in the placemaker. So I don't think we did away with it. I thought it was like still there. And we'll have that discussion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. It's really stress free
and giving us enough resources in terms of grant funding is really useful. So we've got far with that. I think the ladies that council minus should take this as seed placement funding. Council actually go on more. So it's really important. As my representatives of the table, you stress the opportunities.
Sorry, just that into put the support council it's really very cool. So more funders we get on the just
I actually the local government do the basics. But nothing to the plan. Time we building was an operational made cost. We need to keep our eyes on the cumulative. Best example, when we got to forward, starting it. Between 3 and 500. So though we tend to, I tend to lose sight of the ongoing situation, we put it in place of exciting with China, public toilets already. Really. So I think we're going to try to percentages of what versus need. And what is the true cost of it? I just want to make sure that we're some debates
one item there, and as a group, so because as a group, I'm sure we want to make some things together. But if we're going to be really good at it and make assets, then we make it interactive. What those assets and we need to discuss community ownership,
succession programs and ongoing management, which has a cost attached. So, going to what we do.
Thank you. But then I think there's also another opportunity, given let's do the the community board can also find those involved to the communities, resources with those resources, do something. However, do not be council conditions that are making it very difficult for those campaigning to like a cast of voice for those particular groups.
And so, just to reiterate what this is on the back end of the agenda. As well, really involved close in the past. So, yeah, what you need to do is say you do ask to works. Yes, the vision of the show. I was the big state in 69 versus state.
I'm sorry, we are
Oh,
coming up.
stay there. I'm getting an hour.
Yes, you are very quiet.
Sorry, so I reiterated to the group. So people I was talking to with sustainability at the time. When we had to hear about entities and about some, for example, from the health services trust, even in my book as well, rehabilitation services. Because from the data that we had from the last community activity, we had a lot of people that were using the homes, was coming from the elderly, bring up poster, and they had the worst time to fall through the face. But that being said, things that we get into the reach space, and subsidies coming from different groups that we utilize in the place of the club. Takes a lot of armor to reform. So, yeah, but that's it. The sustainability of maintenance of the dimension, security of the EU. It's really beyond the bridge from it to this community scheme because it sounds good. And fortunately, being a part of building the last team that we had, able to give some real time into. For example, recommendation was to put on this example, and then ask the question actually used on the next session in the analysis. So, we'll get there, but at the same time, we've got to get to the people that say, many people that continue to try not to stay a bit partial because some of the past, but at the same time, one in the community that are just on behalf as opposed to advocating in this position. It's a pretty good time. So.
Yeah, I can also share, like when Keri Squash was going through all of their funding applications, the Foundation North actually came up and did a site visit with them. And one of the things they said is, how are you paying for the ongoing care and maintenance of this? And so that the amount of the budget had to show that for at least the next 5 to 10 years, they had accounted for that they were not going to be coming back to Foundation North or the board for this money because you've got other projects that you want to move on to. So that's conversations we have with a lot of people. But what about next year? How are you going to pay next year's insurance and rates and everything else? And they'll go, so no. We will find an answer there.
Everybody, so moving back to the priorities, we have recommendation table and I'm going to vote. All those in support. Against, that's carried. Now we move on to the chairperson amendments report. I'll read it. Community by February 26 Chair Bund or Deputy Chair Member Jane Hindle, Member Joe Rosanek, do I have a support? Thanks, Jane. I'll take mine as read. Is there any questions here? Regarding the hearing.
Does everybody know?
Development, still available.
I'm still on the tree down. I'm not quite sure. Because that's the day on very long. Response. I got last year from staff, perhaps 2 weeks. People circulated to the and Chair, my consent, and we locked the topic here to top in the tree step, but now but not to what we can look now develop the site. I think exactly what time frame is just a issue because it's not what we own is right, but it's that's not absolutely first a few weeks ago, so I noticed that there was a slash sitting down at angle, which is it, and rather than so big, other problems than just it's completely accessible slash down there. As well as a create reputation private visit. It was quite it got really close social media post. Yeah, and I actually ran past site that's tracks and I could see it's one set.
Gee, I appreciate the interest and ongoing frustration gas situation. This will again organize between and balls sense. So you'll be meeting with the team with managers. So please bring those questions and just looking at your information to share with you. Conclusions, but
This is the second summer came to the period about some of these here required and try to start Eastern
So there is a credibility issue in that people shop things in. They get no follow-up saying actually it's being extended by get no information about when it might actually open. And the communications being quite very good. And it was us situations. We are active. That is the big one. Real answers actually happening.
Very much to seeking us last. Can I just respond? I think that can tell me about I haven't been down this, but if the slash is right on but most about it is my understanding of next it's dot or Christian council or landowners is that like a huge chain like that. So if there's a slash there in that creates some potential words which I would have indeed. Who's looking at this? It's probably a map actually it's involved. I'm thinking like you said, regional cuts I just drove yes, driving through this. And we don't a lot of minds just belong to I don't know
and that's what I was saying. My doc's on the other side of the road. I can see it's
quite clear the outside, and I was surprised that, well, possibly some stuff has been, I don't know, I'm not saying, but it was quite on the edge. And this was just immediately after the storm, and quick event. So you've got a mess about in situation.
So, Joe, have any RES has been done as a result of those fires as the base of the
Yes, yeah, there was an outfit around this station, I understand.
Yes.
Inspection. So let me follow.
Yeah. So perhaps.
So they're taking like the location slash.
It's not just double it slash and complete different space.
So yes. So perhaps if they are RES number, Stephen did say that RES number being just to Joe and Jane, and you can be watchdogs there and follow them up. Stephen has wanted to do something we could go and actually give it a moment. Yeah.
Okay then.
Right. Any questions of my report? Apologies if it dates back, but it does pre-election because we weren't allowed to do members' reports during the campaign period. And so I just included, and also don't want to lose sight of some of my outstanding issues that kind of pieces. So it's the age strains.
That charges down, politics reform from the reputation of the reputation but we are heading past the election and the problems will continue until now and general opinion based on each other. Just want to give you that I am in the election.
Thank you. Steve and I have mentioned that we had discussions around giving us maintenance and some what's happening in areas. So with the renewals, rather than just that line item to renewals as to what those renewals are, whether they are, whether the money's transferred, those sorts of questions. So
And it must be released. Because, no, seriously. And he was doing everything and traveling their states. So I sort of think, I'm miserable with what you're doing. And he was very happy to eat. And so somewhere that report must be. One should never assume it was a coordinated
So he's been achieving trouble so time and we get that.
But it's been done. So that he's assessed every book. There you go. So yeah, we started with the Western books for you, started with
challenges in relation to contract that I was dealing with last month, and it was right here. So I'm on the council and somebody who was taking on the job. So you need to find out what's going on. So my concern is where given site was done and starting what's been done, it's been counted charge. It's just something
without me seeing.
People believe that the meaning
Steph and I are working on it, haven't actually, it's on our list of things that we would like to see happen for the members of service. Which we used to have. This is consensus to have it on that. It's not time. Well, it's like, but we used to have it. Yeah. So we've got all these things we'd like to get back on that relationship with them. And so you don't get to go and doing what we try and find. So transparency with them, resources, and it's really difficult to find online. You want to much because they should be in areas. We used to get this likewise with town management. So we have notion of those things. And sure, I can answer you.
Suggest the community board members.
And we just trash all time, putting it on our action list. It's a little bit grey because like more like in does it and it's in all the next. It is sits in loading and this goes
Yes, so two separate issues as you highlight there. Corporations and innocent maintenance of renewables in relation to this, right? Just really want to, it seems like a century ago, but just to acknowledge Corey and Roddy, Roddy covering that we've done over the break in relation particularly to flood damage and eroding, and your very thorough reporting on social media. You're keeping the communities engaged, very important. Free replaying. It's working well. It's enabled us to share information on our community book Facebook page. So just want to acknowledge Roddy on a job and road and it's yours. Okay. And the speed limit we see has been done previously coming out. See, Taman Cuckoo, Car, that area, money that
I guess I had a site visit on with the staff with her. There is some issues with that right in terms of the quality of maintenance. And whether that's a contract issue or whether the contract is issue to the contract specified. He was going to work on some options moving forward and get to the reason.
Sure, that's appreciated. I think the region touching the region of transport. Tuesday, against staff did the most incredible presentation, and to say we're not later, staff protection strategy, communication strategy, protection strategy, getting all of the equipment fight. At the end of this year, we have to have our protection to nets previously funded to implement this year. So we're aiming, we'll get more maybe down, but we're aiming here. And this is part of what we do at Gaia. I have asked that we share with everybody. Because organised by the in understanding network conditions, understanding effects. So I'm hoping that will go to infrastructure and doing that work to find that. And one a bit of pressure. We have the largest network in the market. It's taken place in the bridges in the village, 723. 1607 kilometres of our network is unstable. So this work through the magic it is wonderful, but we can do better, and I'll just do a huge share to start with the engineers contract and efficiency. Very sexy to see how it's coming to especially overlaid everything. So you can go onto a road and you're going to tell you how much forestry, what the units, where the rainfall is. Is it inflexible? Is it a simulation of civil defence? What services are in there? Electricity, sewage, water, are they alive? For the people. And I thought in research of every single section of our network. And that can tell whether they really need to do that. We're going to really be going. That's now nominated. That's a great. And there might be lots of answers. I'm not curious. We can always back or we can see this another need feature that's historical issues for those. We all have our own method of so we don't do it small. True. Yes. Hierarchy is a particularly challenging network against states. Photo efficiency program to network to forward set as invented all that uses all the age of gravity. Historically, in the time what it has to do with challenges we have at the really we have the highest circulation in this and separate within the land. But still relies on the network. So we have some challenges and our job and staff job, my job, not for the electric part of the transport. It's important to principle in the and so we are in the reasons we need money to get the view of action. That is I was in Australia for Christmas in the zoo, and we were there with those signs of that fathers to perish, the abandon, and all those signs of the distance from the Australian Zoo to Auckland is less than 1 kilometre to give us some idea of how big it is. Or in other words, if I went on a road trip and I started at Cleckleenda, I could drive all the way down to Pargo and tune and get back as far as Midway. That's how long I rode in. It's huge. And so when you're trying to spread the picture like really, no one's getting the sense of the knowledge. Sorry, I gave that question. We did go from the door road. We did. So honestly, Anne is a fountain of knowledge when it comes to road and anything we want to know. She just has so much experience in that thing, so keep. So any further questions?
time we use this. So I'll move on to Jane. Questions for Jane? Have you got? See your request for service list slightly slow. So, not been done.
Got issues with overload that are going down on the town corporate plans. There's the legal structure on the paper. There is an legal structure to be built.
I think I might have to go through accounts.
Yes. They are somewhat good now. I was in the EOC when everything was going down at Civil Best. So we actually sent one of the rapid response teams there as soon as we were sending them out. And one of the people I was working with, because she's been working with the ball and everything. So they are aware.
So all of these things have quite an impact.
Yeah.
But then varying their work state.
Enrichment is a massive issue across the board.
Something like roads, but random.
It's never going to go away. You know, many examples around us. Something that's wrong with the reaction rate. Okay, so
He'll be for just a note. And so a lot of things discussed yesterday was huge concern because there are a number of people that live there and that don't actually. So, and they are required to give obviously free of charge, obviously. There are a lot of people like lost. And then you've got yachts and boats. Yes. And yeah, all the way along. So that's going to be huge impact.
okay, I could just submission through New Zealand Post.
Yeah, well, I might be raising it through. Yeah. I just wanted to let you know it's yet another blow to community vote for responsibility.
They're really different as well.
Yeah. But it's a bit of the box. And now, high. All those people that that's here.
So, I guess on that.
The vote, yeah.
I haven't seen the list, but I will be interested to see how we operate to distribute how we operate to how many locations have
So we're looking at closing Modo as well.
Do you know that, Roddy?
We're talking about the closing of the post offices, Roddy. Did you know that they're closing Morewa?
A proposal to close Morewa, did you know that?
It's not in the yes.
Yeah.
It's just a large number of people that, yeah. The emails now, they're sending an email. I think we should be, we should be,
I suggest, Jane, that we look at it district-wide because I haven't spoken with the other community chairs, but it would be interesting to see the list. Perhaps maybe as a council, and knowing our communities as we do it, we can look at those that we feel the strongest.
Because the claim is that they can easily go, it's within the post office within 7 5 years third. That's a colour. And lovely. It actually says that it's very easy to process because to urban service and just that's a lot of writing. But the poor can not be urban.
Yeah. To alternate mode here in the comparison. Shut down first.
There's a lot of problems with that.
There's some very issues happening in our areas. So any maybe while we can have this discussion by the bunch around the New Zealand Constitution, but anything else will change. So we'll move on to Joe. No.
No, I understand.
I have to say, from where I'm sitting, if you don't have RFSs in your news reports, it's a good thing. So I believe our role is to educate people as to how to watch them themselves. And with the email will be on 800 number and make sure that they get a referral number so that they can then come back to you. They don't get any action. So the less RFSs I see there, the better. That's just my take on it.
RFSs that have been made by other people that I have been chasing up.
And how do you test RFS?
Elect members report. RFS number such and such. The man's been waiting 4 years.
So we don't
He's extremely frustrated.
wonderful coordination. So you follow up. Okay. Helps to have the numbers. Sometimes they get closed off. There's a new number, 2 or 3 new numbers.
Correct.
There's always a reason why they get closed off, and it may be that it's legal or that they've gone as far as they can and resolve that. But you need to get that feedback so that you can go back to ratepayer and resident and explain things.
Yeah. And you are what you can continue.
You go.
I go back
and you go back to the system.
I go back to she can get an action. So I go back to England support.
And we and that's Stephen.
Yes.
All the GGs. It will probably land with Stephen. No, but maybe quite a minute. Thank you for that.
And log into the FNDC.
Just
log into the link.
Okay, we can have this discussion over lunch. Yeah. It's kind of, it's good to have a report as Stephen was saying to lodge it through Ian's report. They were historical ones that she's been finding way too anyway as our coordinator, and he will follow up. This feedback for us. So Emery's going to drown in RFSs on Monday.
And likewise, you may have noted, I think it's one time in the book, especially forward after slash issue. I ended up CCing on PM support, just so it starts with just stream there as well. But it's a real safeguard. Like say I'm on the one team, it's just
it's just PM support. You got it in DC. Okay. Jane?
Just a couple of examples from the public developers following.
No, that's great. And it does help to just put on behalf.
Yeah.
Because, I don't suggest you name the person.
Yeah.
Diary it's brought so that you can follow up knowing that some people don't actually have access to computers or don't want to do it. Or want to remain anonymous, which is have the right to do that. I think sometimes if it's close to home, you don't necessarily want to think of it's your name or someone you know. In this small town. So on behalf of the space interview to go back to knowing who
Line through just that
Those road safety issues, are they where it meets Keithley Road?
Yeah. So, for example, Hall Road, through the summer, it was a standard.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they were taking out parking on both corners. The ice cream shop on the other side of the road was overflowing into the road, and the bakery was flying across the road. So cars turning out of Hall Road can see in the oncoming traffic. It's there ongoing. And it's similar down at Ranui with doctors, and they get put up the middle there around the bakery traffic, and they just can't see coming out. So that's really just going to be. They shouldn't be on the corner.
well, it isn't it would be determines the driver. And when you're identifying them though as something that I've noticed that's becoming recently traffic lighting now slowed down. It's a bit like jump rope. It's almost impossible to get out and across. So most people are going left and then turning into someone's driveway to turn around. That's becoming overwhelmingly it's becoming
In a couple of computers. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a bit of a problem. There's some traffic stuff needs to be done.
It's with the traffic. I think they are going to get out. And they may have done other, but they said yes. Yeah, just
so we'll come down to monitoring.
I think it's 6 minutes from the section that jump target. But the issue is there's also been votes and cars for sale for the next stretch of roads even today, so it's just more about moving back. No, on the park roads.
Yes. Right, that's great fun. So that's our members' reports. I just want to thank those of you that took the time over that busy period to actually live on our building was very big. So I'm looking at recommendation. Jane will second it. I'll put it to the vote. Second. We're very tactical. Just recommendation. Islands-Whangaroa community will receive the Islands-Whangaroa Jane. Jane is the first item we've discussed that. As I say, I do have a specific call that for years I didn't know existed that where the board actually applies for a delegation to community council. So perhaps we need to take the next step to push this along by actually pulling out the board. Just asking you, would you like me to start the process? I think I should. Yes. And I need to
That lane, yeah.
So we follow up whether that form and that process is still valid. Then we'll start to get it onto a council agenda. Start just Strand, Jane?
Yes, we had an in-committee discussion last time that could be so no follow-up. Do you want to go into the exit and have an update?
I suppose we can let's just do it in 2 weeks. Yes, when we finish, we can just have a brief discussion about how we go to the next, just to, so that you can have a Simpson Park body, we know that any indication of a timeline from the staff as to now that they've completed the consultation. The next steps to include the amendments. Do we have a time frame start on that?
I spoke to William yesterday in our Taumata Makuku meeting. He's going to give me some information because it's been really, really quiet.
Okay, well, perhaps we'll see. We know what the next step is, just to see what's the time frame we can expect to get this, to move this along, particularly within the, because we're already in February, halfway through February. It'd be good to see something happening and get some spades in the ground. It's like moving teeth slowly, but need to move that one along. About that one, Lottie.
Yep.
Finally, discussed again this maintenance and renewals lists to be available from our community so that we know what we can have some input into what is coming up. We lots of surprises when we see parts being dug up that we don't really want them to be replaced, and we need to find out a little bit more information around what else can be done with this. Just what this we have to think about. If there is nothing wrong with it, perhaps we should be concerned actually about the renewal budget there, but what it needs renewing to the width of 1.5. Accessibility, it needs a mobile scooter passing lane, but to have no input into it from a community perspective is actually opportunities. I think every aspect. I would put the aspect that. If we know what the challenges are, we can work on it. Yes, renewal is like for like, isn't it? So if you've got like Roddy has in this area, some people with 700 we want to double it. It is a challenge to accept that. So it's going to be deviation of the system. We need to be to this solution. So, third Tyler, seconded Jane, got the brings us to close our meeting for today. Just like to acknowledge those of you online joined us today, and any apologies for sound. We also have been struggling to times ourselves. Thank you for being here, and short start for those that came to listen. Close us.
That's the